Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's live stream. As you know, Beneath Cursed Sands was released this week, and we are very excited to discuss all the bits of lore associated with our last release. First off, however, you may have heard about a brand new board game coming to the RuneScape universe, so we'd like to give you a quick rundown of this before we head into our lore Q&A. So first off, I'd like to welcome two of our friends from Steamforge Games, helping make Gielinor come to life on the tabletop. With me, we've got Jamie and Russ from Steamforge. How are you guys doing? And do you want to explain a little bit about who you are? We'll start with you, Jamie.
Certainly. Well, thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here. So my name is Jamie. I am the product owner from RuneScape Kingdoms with Steamforge. What that means is I have an overview of every part of the project from end to end, from the very creation of the game right to the point it gets into the player's hands. And it's my job to use the experience that I've had of working at Steamforge Games for about over 6 years now to basically make sure that we're producing the highest quality game that we can in every single aspect, not only from the game design and the rules, but also to the miniatures, how the visuals are coming across, and how we engage with the audience.
And I'm Russ. I'm the visual director for the studio, which means I look after all of the artwork, graphic design, and my main focus is the sculpting of all of the 3D assets and elements. I'm a miniature sculptor by trade, and so I'm looking after turning all of the iconic designs into lovely little bits of plastic that people will be able to hold in their hands.
Not gonna lie, very, very cool day job, I must admit. Awesome stuff. All right, thank you guys for being on. This is nice to see more and more of the board game coming out. So first off, what is RuneScape Kingdoms Shadow of Elvarg, for those who don't know?
So RuneScape Kingdoms Shadow of Elvarg is a cooperative narrative campaign board game for 1 to 5 players. So what that means is you'll be playing as a team, a group of players, against the board game itself. You're not playing against each other, and you're effectively trying to explore the world that we're into, obviously, which is Gielinor, and progress through a series of narrative campaigns. So what we've done is we've taken a number of the video games, sort of larger quests or more iconic quests from some years past, and we've used those to set the background for the campaign. So to take an example, I'm sure we'll dive into a little bit later on in the questions, but the first campaign that we're going to be showing to people is the Vampire Slayer campaign, which is based on the Vampire Slayer quest line. And you play through that as a group. You've got a lot of other things going on as well. It's intended to be very much of an open world game, so you can experience a lot to do in terms of skilling your characters, as you'd imagine, collecting equipment, crafting gear, interacting with the characters and the NPCs of the world, exploring locations and seeing what other random little things happen along your way, as they often do. It takes inspiration from both OSRS, Old School RuneScape, and RuneScape. We're effectively trying to immerse you in the world, the universe of Gielinor, but in a different perspective, so you can take it to the tabletop.
Awesome stuff. All right, and why the name RuneScape Kingdoms? Where did that come from?
Yeah, so it's very much trying to convey that you're experiencing Gielinor in a different way to the video games. So it takes inspiration from both, but is ultimately its own thing. We have worked very closely with the mods for both games, the game designers, to make sure that we are even when we are creating or iterating on existing content, or even in changing small elements of dialogue, that we're doing so in a way that is very in keeping with how RuneScape should be created in Old School RuneScape. But we very much gone with the name Kingdoms because it's too separate. It's its own thing, and also Ross, can you jump in for me there?
Yeah, so one of the big things that I've been doing working with the art team is trying to get this idea of immersing people in that world and sort of capturing a flavour of Gielinor that is unique to a board game experience. So it's not just about recreating the sensation of playing RuneScape, it's also about creating the idea that you are steeped in the world itself, and I think that is kind of reflective in the way that we're moving with the whole identity of the game.
Yeah, and also because we're focusing on particular kingdoms at first. Like the board game, the core board game is focused on Asgardia and Mistlin. It's the places that most players sort of start off their adventure when playing the RuneScape video games. It doesn't mean that we're limited just to Asgardia and Mistlin. We can obviously the word expansions is a thing. We can certainly be bringing more as the board game, but we're focusing on the content from those locations. So it very much made sense to focus it on sort of the geographical area for the name of the game.
Yeah, I think wise thing to have the most iconic areas in the game start off. So I believe we've got some images to show.
We do.
This is what the GameSpot art looks like. Very, very cool stuff. So you have now, we shared the game board and campaign board. So can you tell us a bit more about how they'll work?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the game board is it's intended to look a little bit like some of the sort of fast travel maps when you're looking at the world map as an overview. When you'll get to see this a lot more closely as you sort of have a look at the start page sector, and you'll get a really good look at this. We've actually created this as a brand new piece of concept art, and it's a new example of how we can look at the world map, part of the world map for Gillinor in RuneScape Kingdoms. Now, I mentioned earlier that this is very much centered on Asgardia and Mistlin, so you should see a lot of the places you recognise, Lumbridge, Verthorpe, Varrock, all those, Wizard's Tower, everything big and small. And you should hopefully, if you take a look at the background, you should see some things that are recognisable to you, hopefully from the sort of the visuals and the shapes that you can see in the background of the map there. So you'll notice quite a lot of things that look like banners on the game board. Those are actually the spaces that your player avatars are going to move around on as you move from place to place. You move from Falador to Draenor Manor, etc. Those are connected by those little dots in between, showing travel paths. And your player character will move around from region to region, exploring those regions as you go, collecting resources, leveling up your skills, and interacting with the game world. When it comes to the campaign board, this is very much sort of keeping the players a little bit focused on what your kind of current objective is. So I mentioned it's a campaign narrative game. Because it's trying to be as open world as it possibly can, there's quite a lot of different things to do. This gives you a little bit of focus of what should we be doing to get on with sort of progressing the main game, if we decide to interact with it at a given time. So this will tell you what objective you got to complete next. Your first one there, for example, as you probably familiar with Vampire Slayer Quest, you're going to speak to Morgan first. Once you've spoken to Morgan, you'll go and speak to Dr. Harlow, and it tells you all the steps you need to complete to tick those objectives off. And as you get down towards the end of the campaign board, you'll eventually be collecting the elements you need to fight Count Draenor, and then there's the boss battle with Count Draenor himself. Once you've completed all these elements of the campaign board, your campaign is complete. You're actually on to the next one. I keep coming back to the term campaign board game because this isn't you've completed the campaign and your game is done, you have to reset with brand new characters. You actually take your existing character with you into the next campaign. All the skills you've acquired, all the gear you've acquired, etc. goes with you straight into the next campaign, as they would do in the video games as you go from one quest to another, leveling up and going through.
Awesome stuff, yeah, and I can vouch personally as someone who's tested it in the early stages. It's full of a lot of RuneScape goodness from both games, so I think players will be very happy with that. Of course, like with any good tabletop game, we will have some miniatures, and it wouldn't do Russ any justice not being here if we didn't show them off. So firstly, if we can pull up the minis, what are the Knight, Wizard, and Skiller, and how are they used in the board game?
Okay, so these are the Knight, Wizard, and the Skiller are three of our avatars of an as yet unrevealed number of avatars in the game, but it is more than just those three. Now, the important thing to bear in mind is that choosing a specific avatar doesn't tie you into a specific style of play. They're very much the vehicle that you can take your own personal RuneScape Kingdoms journey on. And you're not tied into a particular play style, but it may be that you want to play in a style that reflects the miniature. So these are some of the avatars that we've created, and I'm very excited to give people an opportunity to see more of them as we go forward. We've had quite an entertaining process, sort of coming up with the stylistic direction that we wanted to take with these.
And I suppose we couldn't have a tabletop mini called the Shadow of Elvarg without the main villain itself. So if we could show the Elvarg mini, what can you tell us about the background to that, and how did you go about sculpting Elvarg?
Well, Elvarg's a really good example, actually, of the process that we've gone through, which is to try and evoke through the shapes that we're using and these sort of curves that end in crisp lines, trying to draw out sort of silhouettes and visual ideas that existed in people's minds when they sort of fondly think about their RuneScape gaming, and try and sort of capture those in a physical 3D form. In fact, the process that I went through with Elvarg was really interesting because I worked with the OSRS 3D model that exists in the game. And although this pose and the styling might look very unique and very contemporary, this is actually built like physically on top and in a neutral pose. This sits perfectly in the physical volume and silhouette of the old school miniature, old school game model. So it kind of like captures all of that silhouette and flavor, and then we get this opportunity to then sort of run with that and turn all of the dials up to 11 to try and create something that feels really unique and captures the flavor of the game we're trying to create. It's a really entertaining process, and we've had a lot of fun working with the team there, sort of getting this vibe exactly the way we want it to be.
Honestly, they're great minis for the ones we've seen so far. Some yet to be revealed, so you guys can look forward to that. So as we've just announced, actually, that the Kickstarter campaign starts on the 31st of May, and that will run for 10 days. So why does Steamforge use Kickstarter?
So we use Kickstarter mainly because of its engagement with the audience. We really love to know what the audience thinks about the game that we're putting out there, and we very intentionally come to Kickstarter with games that are mostly but not quite finished. We very intentionally want to show you which way the game is heading, how it's going to play, give you the broad sweeps, show you a lot of the details and how we want the video game's visual style to be. But we love to have the interaction with our fans to know what else can we do with this game? Like, how do you actually love the visuals that we've put forward here? Do you like the particular image that we've got on the cards and how the miniatures look, how the gameplay works? And we've left ourselves that little bit of wiggle space post to the Kickstarter to sort of make small tweaks and make small improvements to the game. Perhaps there's a piece of content that the fans absolutely really would love to see in the game and they haven't seen it at the Kickstarter. So maybe that we've got that little bit of time to make sure we get that content in there so we can really put the best game forward that we possibly can. So it's
that's been so valuable in the past, and it's really exciting to be able to do that with a fan base as enthused and engaged as the RuneScape fan base.
Yeah, our players, especially over on Old School, are definitely not shy to knowing what they think. It's very valuable for us as a team, so I'm sure it will be for you guys. So where do we go from here? What happens next in terms of the board game?
So from here, you'll be seeing basically a lot more messaging from us as we move sort of towards the Kickstarter. You'll be seeing, I think, as we've done with these miniatures and with the box art, etc. You've seen those from us on blogs. I think it's on every Tuesday, so we'll be dropping blogs with new information, new visuals to see, new game mechanics every Tuesday from here on in. The next best thing that you can do to get involved with that is make sure you're looking out for those blogs. You can also go on to the notify me element of the Kickstarter and actually sign up to hear about when the Kickstarter opens up. You'll get all those emails straight to your inbox, which I think includes most of the blogs we're going to be putting out as well. And I think you're also going to be seeing us on a couple more of these streams as we get close to the Kickstarter campaign as well. Maybe not necessarily myself and Russ, but hearing from myself and Russ and some other members of our team to tell you about other elements of the game.
You certainly will. Yeah, we will have some gameplay footage for you coming up soon, so keep an eye out for that. We'll have more details coming soon. Thank you both so much for joining us on today's live stream. And if
thank you
guys, thank you. And if you guys at home wanted to know more about RuneScape Kingdoms, Shadow of Elvarg, use !RuneScape Kingdoms in the chat to get all the information you need. And as we switch over to our lore live stream, you might recognize a familiar voice before we come back. So we will see you in a second.
April 26th, 2005. A bridge across the River Elid has been constructed. Yet another signal of the warming relations between the Caridians and the Menophites, opening up even more areas in the vast desert sands. West of the river lies Menaphos, the Menophite capital, a city of great wealth, knowledge, and culture. Adjoining Menaphos on the eastern side of the river lies Sophanum, the city of the dead, where the Menophites erect great pyramids in honor of their fallen. For now, exploring Menaphos will have to wait. Both cities are heavily guarded, but perhaps a wily adventurer may find a way to sneak into Sophanum. A strange wanderer to the northeast of the cities claims to know of a secret entrance, but beware, she seems to have some ulterior motives.
Hello, and we are back. I hope you enjoyed the smooth, dulcet tones of Poison Potion there. Definitely makes me feel a lot calmer. Welcome to the lore section of the live stream. We have with us Mod Ed, Errol, and special guests, A Cold One and Poison Potion. How are we all doing? Let's start with you, Ed.
Yeah, pretty good. I think it's always a good week when we manage to release a new quest.
Yep, it is indeed. Seems like players are very much enjoying it. I'm seeing a lot of good reactions on Reddit and Twitter and across the social sphere. Mod Errol, how are you?
Good, yeah. I'm also very happy to see the quest. It's finally here. It's kind of shocking because we started working on it so long ago and now you're playing it.
Awesome stuff. And welcome, A Cold One. Good to have you back. How's it going?
Good, thanks for having me back on. The quest was pretty fun to do, so thank you again for that.
Ed and Errol and everybody behind it did an amazing job. And Poison Potion, I don't know if this is the first time you're on stream, but definitely the first time with me, so welcome. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. I'm glad to be here. And yeah, like everybody's been saying, the quest was a good time, and it was a really good time making that video too. I usually was more attuned to the Zero side of lore when it came to things with the desert, so it was really cool learning all of the different types of, learning the entire Menophite pantheon in the making of the video.
Yeah, good stuff. It's a great video, and if anyone would like to see it after stream, of course you're going to want to stick around for all the lore goodness, but afterwards, if you type in ! Desert Story Recap, you'll be able to watch the full video from Poison Potion. But just before we get into the lore live stream, we know that the community wants to hear a statement about the PvP rewards poll, and you can expect some information in a follow-up post very soon. This stream is dedicated to Beneath Cursed Sands and the lore behind it all, but we'll definitely be discussing it at some point, so stay tuned for that. If you've not played the quest yet, what are you doing? You should have played it by now. I don't know why you're not. If not, do it now while you're playing stream. It's the perfect time. So we will be discussing spoilers. So if you don't want to know the spoilers and you haven't played the quest yet, just go and do it and maybe mute the stream. Just, have us on in the background. Right, let's get on with some announcements. ! Game update. Beneath Cursed Sands has been looked forward to for a long time. This week's game update news post has all the details, and find out more with that command. ! Giants Foundry. We're reshaping smithing with a new skilling activity. Giants Foundry, our latest blog, has all of the information you need on the minigame concept, the rewards, and a new quest, Sleeping Giants. And finally, if you missed Monday's stream, we spoke with Mod Oasis to find out more about Giants Foundry. The blog will be updated next week, but if you missed it out then, check out the transcript with ! Monday stream. All right, before we get into the questions, let's have a look at some user-generated content. First up, we have art by me from Orange Julius the Kid. Very cool stuff. We've seen so much more of this 3D art. It's really cool. Which I think is followed.
Coming from a creator's perspective, it has certainly become more accessible to 3D art. Even I've tried to dabble into it a little bit. But yeah, people much more talented than me have been making stuff like this, and it's always nice to see.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's very awesome stuff seeing it all populate socials. The next one we have is from Rengi Art and is called Neon Wars. Very
That's
very
so cool.
Very, very cool.
Love the shiny.
Yeah, that's like
fan of shiny.
perfect. That's like perfect desktop background look right now with a nice keyboard. I think that would do really, really well. The next one we have is from called Josh McKelvey. Is how cool I imagined I was in 2006. I mean, I still think he looks quite cool now. Maybe I'm
It's cool.
biased, but you know.
Maybe
Pick
you
the
should
right
try out
boots.
the Land of a Goblins quest. Get some of that goblin mail. Finish off the outfit.
I just noticed the rainbow boots. Very nice.
Mhm.
Of course, the only boots of choice. There's no other option.
Right.
And next we have some Skill Cape keyrings from Angelscapes. I think this is the full set now. I might be mistaken, but I think this is everything. Trying to see if I missed one.
No cabbage cape?
Cabbage capes? Cabbage cape?
Yeah, there's no cabbage cape.
Okay, well, Angelscapes,
this?
you know what's you know what's next on the list. And finally, we have from Not Really a Horse, Fashionscape for Beneath Cursed Sands, so very in fitting with the stream.
What's the offhand holding? Is that a satchel?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
believe it's
It's from the amalgamation thing below the tower thing.
one where you get
Oh, yeah,
hold
the
your
thing.
tea.
Yeah, that thing.
The thing, yeah.
I forget what it's called.
Fashion though, I like it.
It's the creature
Yeah, it's
creation. Yeah, Chat's
Yeah,
got it.
definitely see more Fashionscape use than maybe normal game use. All right, and just before, as a little surprise, just before we start the questions, we've got a sneak peek at something. Ed, do you want to take it away?
Ooh, sneak peek. Could this
Yeah.
be a new announcement? Maybe.
Maybe.
So let's talk about spacebarring. So you're playing through your quest. You're like, wow, that mod Ed, he's written some alright dialogue here, but I just can't be bothered. Spacebar go brr. We all do it. We all do it. But imagine if Jagex made an official spacebar in game mode. Shall we have a look at the first image?
I think we
So,
should.
I think we first talked about this maybe 2 years ago. It was an ideation project, so just something that a few of us are working on in our free time. The idea of these worlds where you can go and play through quests basically as many times as you want. You could do it for fun, if that's the kind of thing you like doing. Or maybe you care about a bit of competition. And basically the way this would work is this would be official quest speedrunning. So you would be able to, while playing through these quests, keep track of how long it's taking you, try and set some best times. And as we can see here, the person who did this, they did Cook Assistant in quite a reasonable, in 2 minutes, not bad, not bad. And they unlocked some trophies, so shall we hop over to the next image? Oh no, we're in the wrong order.
Oh no! Oh no!
Let's just pretend that didn't happen. There we
Yeah.
go. So, trophies. So with
Oh,
each
wow.
quest that's available for speedrunning, there'd be 4 different trophies. And basically the goal would be to try and complete the quest as possible, get some trophies. Doing so would unlock you some speedrun points. You can see them there on the left-hand side. And earn as many speedrun points as possible. And this is something that, as mentioned, started in ideation, but we are now looking to make official and hopefully actually bring to the game at some point. There'll be a bit more information on it in the Gazette that's coming out very soon. Is that tomorrow, the Gazette?
We
Maybe?
shall see, Ed. We shall see.
Oh, have I?
It's
shouldn't have
definitely
said
coming
anything,
soon.
should I? It's coming
definitely
soon. Soon, TM. There's a Gazette with a bit more information, but yeah, for now, a little sneak peek at some quest speedrunning, or like I say, official spacebarring. And I guess we hop back to the second image now to sort of like finish it off as a little look at someone mid-cook assistant speedrun.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's been quite exciting because, yeah, as we know, this was mentioned I think, a few months ago, and I know that the idea has been floating around the team for a while, but it's nice to see it in like an actual physical format, which is really, really nice. So yes, we will have more information in the Gazette coming soon, TM. So stay tuned for that. Right, now we might as well get on to the questions, lore questions, which is the reason why a lot of us are here. So, Beneath Cursed Sands questions, let's go. First off, welcome everyone. Let's start this off with your reactions. First of all, what did you think about the quest? We'll go poison potion and a cold one. In that order.
All right. Well, as far as the new quest is concerned, I think that there was some interesting things revealed about it. One of them being the fact that Temekin was actually dead, or dead, quote unquote. I didn't think that was something that had been revealed yet. And the fact that most of his powers were, transported into the lesser gods, of which, Amasket is trying to now take control of them. So that was an interesting development. And yeah, I'm curious to see just how that plays out. Obviously, it's going to be playing into Raids 3, as Amasket is going to potentially get those 4 lesser gods and then become super duper powerful, and then we still got to kill her. I don't know. What do you think, Cold One?
I like the reveal at the start, how the Wanderer that just kind of possesses your mind was just revealed to be Amasket, like right off the get-go. I also like how we got a nice little set of glasses with a nose and a mustache right at the beginning. Put those right in the bank. It's my favorite fashionscape now. That aside, one thing I was kind of torn at the ending was when the Pharaoh of Menephos came outside, and you could see his eyes just beat glowing red. And I couldn't make an idea of whether that was Amasket possessing him because his eyes weren't half closed, half open, or whether it was just Amasket in disguise. And maybe the Pharaoh of Menephos is dead.
Amasket does have control of him. I think the Scarabite boss said that in the middle of the quest.
Okay. I think I just missed that then. Because I was just torn on that, but thanks for covering that up for me.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure, like, after we took him out of the spell, that's when he was like, oh yeah, Scabarus has been controlled by Amasket for centuries, and so has the rest of our tribe. And, that he also has control of the head honch. What was his name? Osmuten? Or not, Osmuten.
Yeah, Osmuten.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, glad to hear you guys enjoyed the quest. Errol, how do you think it went down?
I actually haven't played the quest yet. Because I was play it on my Group Ironman, and I didn't get my Group Ironman high enough level to do contact. But from reading it, I thought it was great. Absolutely no bias there.
No bias at all, and I'm sure we don't have any bias from Ed. How do you think it went?
I say shame. I also haven't played it on my personal account yet. A little confession from me. I spend more time looking at these quests than most. Play through it about 1,000 times in development. So on my personal account, I do actually spacebar through every single one of my quests. I go through them as fast as possible. But
it's just practicing for speedrunning. That's all it is.
Exactly. No, it's been really good to get something in people's hands. Like, it's our first time doing something with I was gonna say desert storyline, but to be honest, like, pretty much our first time doing something with desert nearing a full stop. Like, in any regards, we've not really done much there at all. It has been quite literally a desert of content. So it's been really fun to, like, finally get something out there, see people enjoying it. It's already fun sort of seeing people start to speculate and stuff like that. One of the nice things about this one is that so often we release a quest, it's like, oh, when will the next one be? Like, maybe a year away, maybe 2 years away. But this, at least some parts of the story, we're going to get to follow on fairly quickly with Tombs of Amasket in just a few months' time. So it's going to be really fun to see all that come together.
Yes, very exciting. For those of you who have missed it or don't know, you will need to do this quest to access Tombs of Amasket. So if you want to do the raid, make sure you go and do the quest beforehand. Right, a huge talking point, Ed, just before we move on to more questions, we've recently seen is the puzzle section. Guess it's worth asking, how did you find the puzzle section of the quest, a cold one and poison potion? Did anyone else struggle with it here?
Not really, no. Like, it was kind of similar to the one we had Dragon Slayer 2, where you're in the basement of the Zaya crypts. So I just immediately looked at like the talking points in like the main paragraph that you find on the wall. Just reviewed all the stories on the side, so I kind of just knew where to put them after a few minutes. So it wasn't like too difficult. You just had to do a little bit of reading.
Yeah, so I read all the plaques and everything, but I'm just so terrible with riddles like that. Like I lose track of who, or I'll read the whole thing and then I'll lose track of one thing and then mess it up again and again. It took me about 4 tries, I think, to finally get it. What was messing me up was the wine and the necklace, and I was thinking, okay, who would be attributed to the wine? And I was thinking, well, let's see, Crondis was, well, she's the god of not companionship. Well, she used to be the god of physical pleasures. So I was like, okay, maybe the wine is going to her then. But no, that was actually Het because of health and stuff. So I was getting a little mixed up on that.
All right, interesting, very interesting. Ed, do you want to talk about the hotfix?
we did make a little hotfix to the puzzle. Nothing too much, but yeah. Normally when we release a new quest, it's generally the bosses that are sort of like the sticking points. Everyone gets stuck, but this time we did have quite a lot of people get stuck on the puzzle. There was a lot of stuff on Reddit of people, threads of I'll give someone a bond, please just solve my puzzles. It's like, oh, maybe we made it a little bit too hard. So yeah, we did do a hotfix just to add a little bit more text. The thing about puzzles is there's a lot of puzzles in our game that hopefully are quite fun. There's quite a few puzzles in our game, not so much. And puzzles aren't for everyone. For some people, you're going to come to a puzzle and you're just like, I am not having a good time right now. And to a certain extent, that's fine. Like, not all content is made for all people, but the frustration always should come from, like, is it hard? Not, is it confusing? I think maybe this one was a little bit too confusing. Like, it wasn't overly clear what the end goal was, so we just added a bit of text to say that the goal is to work out, like, where they came from north to south, rather than anything else. Yeah, hopefully for anyone maybe playing through it who got stuck with a puzzle, had to drop off, maybe head back in and give it another crack. Yeah, it's always puzzles are always really interesting ones, sort of see how people approach them. And yeah, some people have like breezed through it, just like 5 seconds, like, oh yeah, there, no problem. Other people's been really challenging. My personal favorite though was the must have been some sort of stream of favoritism going on when Pure Spam just walked into the room, put these 4 emblems into 4 random urns and just walked straight through the door. It's like, oh yeah, fair enough. Like, didn't even look, you didn't even read half the text or anything like that. Just walked straight through first time.
Yeah. That was a little confusing with because some of the text was saying, oh, this person got here third, or this person got here second, but then this person came from the north, and then this person came from the south. And I'm thinking, okay, well then, does it matter who comes first or second, or does it just matter the direction? Yeah, it was making my head hurt.
Yeah, I remember being in that call. That was like oh, okay, that sort of happened moment. It was quite good. But yeah, there is a little bit extra for you guys to that haven't done the puzzle yet. So good luck with that. Right, let's get on to some player asked questions. So the first one we have is from Iluko. Will we be diving closer to Osmond's ancestry at any point, or is that aspect of his character changing for Old School as we drift into a new narrative storyline for him?
So, yeah, I guess for anyone not aware, like, Osmond's ancestry is quite an important plot point in the storyline in RuneScape 3. They have quite a few more quests in the Desert story than us. But as for us, like, it's always, I guess, not so much about Osmond, but it's sort of about, like, when we do quests in general that have kind of equivalents in RuneScape. It's always trying to sort of, like, strike that balance between, staying true to what the storyline is, being respectful of, like, what the original creator intended, stuff like that, but also adding an old school spin, an old school twist onto it. And, like, hopefully that's come across in, like, the quests we've done before, like Song of the Elves, Sins of Father, and now Beneath Cursed Sands, but, like, there's a few things, like, I think the equivalent in RuneScape is dealing with Scabarus. Like, you play dealing with Scabarus in RuneScape, then play Beneath Cursed Sands. There's a few similarities. We're going to the ruins again. We're dealing with some Scabarites, and also there's a lot of new stuff as well. Like RuneScape didn't really touch the plague in Sophanum again after Icthrin's little helper. We were really keen to delve into stuff like that a bit more. And obviously the tombs themselves, the raid that's coming up is obviously completely unique to Old School. So a nice blend of existing stuff and new stuff. That's not answered the question even remotely. So let's get back to that. There's a couple of little things in this quest, sort of that go along those same lines of how the stuff with Osmund's ancestry went in RuneScape. There's a new character introduced who sort of has some ties to stuff they did there. As for if we'll go down the same route in Old School, we'll have to wait and see. But there's definitely already some plot points beneath Cursed Sands sort of along those lines that might be explored more in the future.
He's got a lot going on.
As far as the storylines of RS3 are concerned, with future things, I know we want to take our own path for some of them, but as far as past things that were revealed in RS3, such as Zeros, the war in the Second Age with Zeros trying to take over the desert, and then the Majara being able to team up with Ictharin and actually worshipping Ictharin for a good while, and then them eventually betraying them and going to Zeros instead. That is all kind of tying in now with Old School RuneScape, I'm guessing, because a little bit of that was talked about in this quest when they were saying that Temekin sacrificed himself after what I'm assuming was the Majara teamed up with Zeros and tried to take over the region again. Then Temekin killed them all and killed himself, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
We've made that canon
okay.
In Old School as well.
Okay.
It was really fun researching it.
Awesome stuff. All right. I always look forward to these streams because of how cryptic Ed gets. It's always one of my favourite things.
That's stuff we don't have to be cryptic on. As said, the past is pretty much the same in both games. It's the future that'll be different. So I don't need to be cryptic about the past. The stuff about Tumakan, Majorat, all canon and Old School now. It's really nice to finally get some confirmation of that in with Mehar's dialogue. The future. That's where I start to get cryptic.
Okay, cool. Nice.
Yeah, that's definitely my favourite part. I'm sure we'll have some questions crop up where we can get Cryptic Egg come out again. So the next question we have is from Scratch Low. Osmundton seems to be mentioned a lot, but will we ever be able to see more of him anywhere?
Yeah, that Osmundton guy. Maybe he's important.
Yeah, how much are we allowed to give away here?
well, that's the question, isn't it? We were just talking about being cryptic about the future. I guess. When we name drop characters, it's generally for a good reason. The tomb in that necropolis that we've added to the south of Sophanum, that's Osmundton's tomb. That is going to be the location of the raid, the Tombs of a Mascot. As Spinewielder, one of the wiki guys, pointed out to me that Tombs of a Mascot in Osmundton's tomb, I think the name might be a bit wrong there, but yes, it's his tomb that the raid will take place in. So you'd expect that going into his tomb, you're going to learn a bit more about his character.
Interesting stuff. Okay. All right. So this next question, I don't have a name attached to it, but I'm going to open it up to the floor and actually disagree with the first bit of this, but I'll read it anyway. Not many players are very invested in Old School's lore. What was it that got you, and I'm opening this up to everyone, into the game's lore? Have you noticed any shifts in your communities with people attitudes towards the game's lore? So a cold one, we'll start with you.
If I've seen shifts with interest in lore in my community, hardly at all. I think everyone's kind of made up their mind whether they're a spacebar kind of player or a fiction enjoyer kind of player. As far as what got me into the game's lore, I don't know, it's just a natural thing. Like with almost any game I play, I'm interested in the story, like why the game is there in the first place. Naturally, for something like Mario Brothers, there isn't really one. The princess gets kidnapped. That's about it. There isn't really any backstory as to why Bowser keeps stealing Peach. But then games like The Legend of Zelda, you find out a bit of history in it if you explore some things in certain games, much like Breath of the Wild, like the little bits I've played of it. Don't spoil everything for me yet, by the way. I've still yet to do a full playthrough of that game. But you do get interested into the story. Like, you want to find out like why it's here, and fiction's kind of fun. It is.
Cool, okay, we might have to have a chat about Legend of Zelda stuff after the stream, the cold one, because I'm definitely your guy. Alright. Poison Potion, what about you?
I think what got me into lore had to have been the lore behind Zeros, and also the lore of how Guthix ascended to godhood. And I've never played RS3, but I do know a bit of the... Because there's some things in Old School that just currently aren't in... that the lore isn't there in Old School yet, but it's more delved upon in RS3. And I actually really got invested in some of the things like When World Wakes, and I actually watched lore videos on that. But the whole process of Guthix having his daughter die and basically killing a couple of gods, just in him ascending to godhood because he was so upset, finding Gillinor, and then also the lore behind Zeros and Saren, how they were children of Ma, and how Ma was one of the weakest elder gods, and how she basically lost her mind, and Saren tried to help her, but it was pretty much futile and ended up having to kill her eventually. Sorry, this is going into a lot of stuff that has not been talked about at all in Old School, but I just find it extremely interesting, and it's just the history of a lot of it makes me want to learn more.
Awesome stuff. Do you feel like your community is in a similar boat to you?
You know, I think there's a good portion of my community that really likes lore stuff. I remember when I was doing some of my marathon streams, I would just put on a long lore playlist that would play for 10 hours while I was sleeping, and yeah, it was would wake up and they were like, "No, PP, it's getting to a good part. Please go back to sleep." So they like their lore.
I was going to say, I suppose that's the sort of positive, but okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we've got a couple of questions from the Duck Chris coming up. So the first one, they ask, any comments on the stated power of a mascot's desired weapons being quite similar to a certain mythical staff?
See, now who's being cryptic? Certain mythical staff.
Yeah, there's loads of mythical staffs. Staves.
I thought it was a wand.
Ooh. I mean, if the Duck Chris is in the chat, maybe they can clarify which certain mythical staff they mean. Yeah, I'm not sure the chat will have some.
What do we say in the quest? In the quest, we talk about how this is the thing I have to do sometimes. I have to try and remember what we've actually already told players. Like writing dialogue for Beneath Cursed Sands and Tombs of Mascot simultaneously. Like, which one is which? So in the quest, yeah, we talk about there's two weapons that can be used to transfer power between.
Oh yeah, that's the Staff of Armadyl, isn't it?
So yeah, I think I'm guessing that our friend here is referring to the Staff of Armadyl, his mythical staff. I mean, it's not the Staff of Armadyl. We definitely say that much. We know where the Staff of Armadyl is. It's well, depending on how good of a person you are when you're doing the Temple of Ikov quest. It's maybe still with the Guardians there, or maybe you've given it to Lucian. But definitely not hanging around some pyramid. So it's not the staff, it's something else. Whether the staff had a part in making those things, who knows? And how does that tie into the bosses of the raid, the rewards of the raid, and what goes on in there? Who knows? To wait and see. But can confirm it's not the Staff of Armadyl. Can confirm that much.
Yeah.
I've got one question regarding the staff and the whole Temple of Ikov quest. Is there a way to check which side you took? Because I genuinely don't remember which side I took on which account.
I don't think there
don't actually know, to be honest. The thing about a lot of those old quests is that they're just that, old quests. You'd hope that there's different dialogue of like Lucian and stuff like that, depending on which side you took. But I don't know. There's a couple of old quests which don't have that sort of thing.
Well, if you choose one side, you decide to try and kill. You decide to try and kill Lucian, and if you decide to kill the other, like the people that were protecting the staff, then Lucian, you're on his side. So I don't know how that would play into it. But I mean, that's up to you whenever you continue that storyline.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah,
also
that
depends.
sounds
Also think part of it depends on how much of a spacebar warrior you are, because I know there's a quicker route and a slower route. So
Oh, really?
yeah,
I always just thought, oh, Lucian bad. I'm gonna kill him.
if I'm remembering right from the quest guide, I'm pretty sure there's like an optimal route, quote unquote. Cool. All right. We have another question from the Duck Chris. Is it even technically possible for the Devourer to ascend to godhood, considering Gothic edicts?
Well, hopefully we won't have to find out. Hopefully,
Depends
you're
how good
gonna
you are
stop
at raiding, maybe.
Yeah. Can you imagine if that's how the raid ends? The mascot gets away with it.
You just fail. No
Yeah.
rewards. But we still have rewards to a game, but you can't obtain them because she wins.
I think she.
Well,
The thing about the edicts is quite
technically
interesting
would be able
because,
to.
like, the edicts, sort of like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a bubble almost, like a bubble around Gielinor that stops the gods interacting with it. What happens if someone becomes a god inside the bubble? What would happen there? Like, would the edict
Depends
stop
if they're
that? Maybe
retroactive or
not.
not.
Did how thorough was Guffix when making his edicts? I mean, it's a fun thing to swap. I mean, the Devourer definitely thinks she can do it. Like, she is dead set on this plan of hers, so she clearly doesn't consider the edicts a problem. Like, when you look back at obviously Dark Quest that exists in Old School, like while Guffix sleeps in Ritual of the Marjarat, Lucian was going for something very similar. He didn't think there was a problem either, so I don't know. Do we risk it and find out? Maybe better make sure she doesn't.
Well, I mean, Ixthlarin and Amasket are both demigods, and they didn't have to go away. Aladinus is still alive. Temeken's dead, and he would have died before the edicts. But we haven't seen Aladinus, besides her statue in Narda. I don't know. That is a interesting question.
Well, seems like you might have to wait and see potentially. Who knows? I mean, if we don't get my plans have foiled because of you meddling adventurers success screen. Now I'm going to be very disappointed. Right. So next question we have is from Arceus Library Card, and they say blink twice for yes, and once is also for yes. Is Osmond Sliske? He is a friend we met along the way. He is wanting Menaphos to remain quarantined, so he has easier access to the Soul Altar, a Master of Shadows, and would be the very first to know of any strange amulets washing on shore for scrappy young wizards to find.
I can't stop blinking. It's become a compulsion.
I'd only blink once though.
I suppose that's something you're going to have to wait and see.
I knew this would start to happen. Like, was it the last lore Q&A we did when we made the joke about everyone being Sliske? And like,
everyone was the friend along the way.
Like, well, is this one Sliske? Is this one Sliske? I mean, the whole point of like a lot of the Marjarat stuff is that you don't know who they are. So probably shouldn't say too much. But at the same time, we've answered a lot of these questions with wait and see. So I should probably try and give some sort of answer. Like, I guess in general, as fun as it is, the whole speculation, do be careful of thinking everyone is a Marjarat. Make sure you don't get disappointed. Like, I definitely believe that there are some Marjarat out there in disguise, some humans, maybe some quite notable humans, probably a few that we've met and don't know about yet their true identity, but it's definitely not going to be all of them. Not everyone's a Marjarat. I mean,
or are they?
Marjarat or not, like, Osmond very clearly has quite a few motives by the looks of things in Menaphos, and I think as mentioned earlier, like, there's a lot going on with that character. It's going to be really fun to explore, like, more of what he's up to in the future.
Was Lucian a Marjarat? I can't remember who it was now.
Yeah, he was. He was one of them.
Okay, yeah.
Or was?
I mean,
Still is an old school. Yeah, I'm talking like from a RuneScape perspective. Yeah, in old school, he very much still is. We haven't done anything with Lucian and his storyline yet. We did do a survey a couple of months back about potentially like porting Quest into Old School, and While Gothic Sleeps was one of the options. We're hoping to actually share the results of that survey with everyone pretty soon. Like, I think what I can say at this point is that it was very, very positive response, particularly for While Gothic Sleeps. So doesn't mean it's going to happen straight away, but it is definitely quite possible that we'd consider porting that quest into Old School at some point. Maybe with a few tweaks here and there, but yeah, we'll maybe see more of Lucian at some point. Is Osmond Lucian?
Yeah, right. That's another
Now,
one. I was gonna say that I was super excited for that news to come out about While Gothic Sleeps, because I started playing this game in like 2018, and of the friends that played it when they were younger, they said, "Oh, the best quest was While Gothic Sleeps. That was my favorite quest." And from multiple people, I would hear that, and I'm like, "Well, dang, I guess the only way I'm gonna get to play that is if I start playing RS3." But to hear that it's gonna be coming to Old School, I'm super psyched to play through that.
Well, yeah, maybe we'll have to wait and see. Maybe everybody is a Majorat and Moded is just leading you on a path of false lies and fiction. So
I
we'll
think
see.
Moded has Majra vibes.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Don't trust Moded. That's the takeaway from today's stream. All right, the Duck Chris is back again with how did Amaska get control of the other demigods?
So we're gonna explore a lot more of this in the raid, but I think as it's mentioned in the quest, she used the Scabberites quite heavily to like help her out with this. So Scaberus himself was the first one that she captured, and then with the help of the Scabberites, she was able to capture the other three. And this isn't something that happened overnight. There was quite a few hints in like the dialogue, I think, in like the contact quest about sort of like how long this has been going on for, and like Scabrous first started acting a little bit strange all the way back in like the third age, or maybe even like towards the end of the second age actually. So like this is a very long game she's playing, and like she has slowly over time captured all of these demigods, and like the real specifics, like there'll be a bit more of that explored in the raid, but yeah, she's like used the Scabberites to basically she basically takes advantage of the things that they're sort of like their main principles, and like capture them in that way. And am I saying too much? You know what? We've got Beneath Cursed Sands right now. Let's talk a bit about the raid. Let's for the first time. Let's talk about some of the bosses in the raid, because we've said wait and see too many times for these ones. So in the raid we've got I think we've said before that there's 4 initial sections that you can complete in any order, and then followed on by a final boss. And those initial 4 sections are all themed around one of these 4 lesser gods or demigods or avatars. They have a few different names. Scabrous is one of them, and there's obviously the other 3 that get mentioned in the quest briefly as well. And each of the 4 bosses is also themed around these 4 demigods, and each boss was once a creature that embodied the principles of that demigod to the to the absolute extreme. And what Amaska has done is she has captured these 4 creatures and corrupted them, knowing that these creatures the demigods would try to save their followers, and that is how she's lured them in. So when you go into the raid, you will be fighting these 4 corrupted creatures themed around the demigods, and in doing so, maybe you might get to save the demigods themselves. Let's find out. But yeah, there we go. Some actual confirmations. So 4 initial raid bosses they're not the demigods themselves, but they are themed closely around them. They're a creature that the demigod has tried to save, and that's how they've been captured. As for what the final boss is, that one we'll keep a secret for a bit longer, I think.
Nobody in chat has guessed it.
Yeah, I'm gonna just go on a limb and say maybe it's a mascot. I don't know.
I like how Errol's been keeping tabs. Like,
I'm watching you.
Well, I think we've said. I think one thing we have said. So I don't think this is a spoiler or anything. Is that the final boss? It's a twin boss. So there's 2 NPCs that you'll be fighting for the final boss. So maybe that gives don't know, will that give people some more ideas to what we could be? To be honest, I don't think anyone will actually guess it, but it's fun to speculate on.
It's quite a twist.
More cryptic. I like it. Keep this up, please. All right. Guys, I want to throw a question out to you specifically, Poison Potion, and a cold one. Where would you, or where do you think the story is going in terms of the desert storyline? I'll start with you, Poison Potion.
Oh, that's a hard one, but I was thinking about, where is Icthorin playing into all of this? I know he's super busy trying to take all the souls from the dead to the next plane or whatever, but eventually it's going to get to a point where he can't ignore this. I think that maybe in the continuation of this story, he does have a role, and perhaps he helps us out a bit in trying to stop whatever a Masket is currently trying to do. So that's my guess. And then who knows, maybe even Eladinis, if she isn't banned or barred by the edicts, also helps out.
Yeah, during the quest that we did yesterday, there was almost no mention of Eladinis, but there was a lot of talk of Tumekin. There was a lot of talk of Osmondton. Right now we see, what's her name? I keep forgetting her name, a Masket, wandering into the pyramids. Yeah. Like she's got plans inside there, trying to go through her evil plans, become an actual god, and arise from the rank of a demigod. And I've seen concerns saying, is that even possible after what we've seen with the Guthix edicts? So I'm a bit skeptic as to what's going on in there. I've heard Ed say that there's a twin boss at the bottom. I've seen a teaser for some of the rooms in there. Maybe it's going to be something similar to that of Twin Mold from Majora's Mask, because one of the rooms looked like a bit from something like that game. Maybe it's going to be some desert worms. Maybe it's going to be a Masket herself, trying to arise the corpse of Tumekin or the corpse of Osmondton, and she becomes corrupted in doing so. But that'd be
hilarious
I have no clue where it's going to twist to.
That'd be hilarious if she ascended to godhood, and then all of a sudden, because of the edict, she just gets yeeted off of Gilinar. Well, problem solved.
I can just imagine a sort of Team Rocket ejection scene from Pokemon. Just
see ya, Masket.
Right. Cool. We've got a couple of just general desert lore questions we'll move on to, because I know we've not got tons of time left. So Western Little asks, will we be seeing a Grandmaster Quest finale in or around Menaphos to end the desert storyline? And in general, when do we see that area finally open up?
You will get to go to Menaphos at some point, definitely. I don't know when.
Yeah, I guess there's... Okay, so disclaimer, whenever we talk about future content, everything's open to changing. But yeah, this isn't the end of the storyline. There's going to be more quests. The fact we're already at a master means that there's going to be a grandmaster at some point. Current plan, which again would change, is that there's 2 more quests in the storyline, and then on top of that, you do also have the raid itself with stuff going on in there that's connected to the storyline too. But yeah, beyond that, 2 more quests, a master and a grandmaster, and it would be the first of those where Menaphos would open up, which probably makes sense. For anyone who's played Beneath Cursed Sands, you see at the end, Menaphos is pretty close to opening up, so it's not in storyline terms, it's not far off. But obviously, when we release that quest, not really too sure at the moment. To be honest, a certain amount of it will probably depend on people's feelings on things after we've released the raid. We'll have done Beneath Cursed Sands, done the raid. Will people want more desert content? Will they want us to go somewhere else? When we did Dark Maya relatively soon after Theatre of Blood, some people really enjoyed spending all that time in Mauritania, but for other people, we had a lot of feedback of, can we go somewhere else? At the time, they were asking us to go to the desert because nothing had been done there. So it could quite possibly depend on people's feedback. After the raid, will people want to see the next quest in Menaphos, or will everyone be tired of the desert for a bit and want to go somewhere else? But whenever it does happen, yeah, that's the current plan. 2 more quests.
I've got one side question, if you don't mind. sharing
go for it.
maybe your thoughts or ideas. With the Grandmaster quest, are we going to be following the same theme with the other 2 Grandmaster quests in the game where the final boss has a one-shot mechanic?
That's a hardcore question right there.
It's a little bit. I heard some stories yesterday before I did the quest, like, oh, I got hit for 70 damage, and like, I'm worried about that one.
We do
Well,
quite
we're
like
definitely gonna do it now.
one-shot mechanics.
Thanks.
All right, cool. Well, we'll keep that in mind. Maybe a cold run just for you potentially, but can't promise anything.
I'm not looking for either or answer. Well, I kind of am. I don't care which answer it is. I'm just curious if we're going to be following the same theme.
It's hard to say, to be honest. Like, generally, when it comes to like sort of like these planning for the future, like it's normally like the vague sort of like storyline is where it starts. Then we fill in the specifics, and often like things like actual gameplay actually often comes quite a bit later. So, like, we may know what the boss of the quest is going to be months or even years before we actually know what the mechanics will be sometimes. So, yeah, I guess the cheat answer is not being decided yet.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry guys, you'll have to wait and see, I'm afraid. All right, Boogie the Hedgehog asks, how does Ixflurin fit with the River of Souls?
The whole journey to the afterlife is, I suppose, it's a bit confusing, a bit complicated, but the way it works is that you've got Death, the Grim Reaper. He reaps a soul. The soul travels down the River of Souls. It then arrives. This is probably the most confusing bit. It then arrives at a second river, different river, the River Numenon. The soul is ferried across the river to the gates of the Grim Underworld, and that is where Ixflurin takes the souls and he guides them through the Grim Underworld until they finally reach the afterlife. I'll be honest. It's a bit complicated. I'm not the biggest fan of it myself, but yeah, that's how it goes. So you get Death, River of Souls, River Numenon, Ixflurin for a Grim Underworld, a nice, wonderful afterlife.
And then Amasket was supposed to be the one that guided those souls in the afterlife to rebirth, right?
Yeah. Yes, before she decided she'd had enough and didn't want to do her job anymore. Yeah, so Ixflurin guides these souls for Grim Underworld to the afterlife. You'd then also have Amasket offering rebirth to a select few. But with her no longer doing that job, rebirth is not a thing that particularly happens anymore.
Maybe she felt like nobody deserved rebirth anymore.
Her motivations are mysterious.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly she's hungry.
No, she just wanted
I
to
think she just got greedy.
Well, it does say that she was possibly corrupted by the Majorat. I don't know. That's something that was touched on in the new quest too. She came back after the Great War and was different, but she wasn't involved with the Great War at all.
It's just an out. She's just like, yeah, I was, that happened.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we've got Meister Knights 969 ask, will the Zaros and Menephos lore ever intertwine?
Ooh. Well, I guess technically they already have. Zaros is kind of the driving point behind like a lot of the stuff that's already happened. He essentially caused Temekan to sacrifice himself after staging this massive war of conquest against the rest of the Caridian desert, and was a bit of a jerk, which is why we don't say his name anymore. Except I did.
That Zaros guy.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
As to whether it'll interact more in the future, that's kind of Ed's department, I think. Pass that back.
I guess one thing I can say is like the two storylines, like they both have their own like paths of their own endings. Like they're not going to like combine into like one Grandmaster or anything like that. So when I was talking about those 2 quests earlier, those are the 2 quests that will like finish off a desert storyline, conclude whatever's going on with a Mascot, Pharaoh, Osman, and all the other characters and stuff like that. And then the I guess the Zaros stuff is I guess more of a Majorat storyline. That again has its own sort of like not as well mapped out, that one at the moment, because a lot of that one actually depends on the results of that survey I was just on about. Now that we've got those in, might start to like maybe think a bit more about what that storyline's going to look like, because we've not really touched Majorat at all in Old School. But it'll be sort of like, again, it'll like have X number of quests, and then that storyline will conclude probably in a Grandmaster quest or something. So they won't like intertwine in that way, but because of as mentioned, like how much of like what's happening with the Desert storyline is like indirectly Zaros' fault. There probably will still be like little overlaps here and there, like mention stuff like that, maybe the odd character hopping from one storyline to the other. That's not confirmation that Osman is Sliskay before anyone asks. It's who knows. But so yeah, maybe some like little like links and like stuff like that, but they will still be their own sort of like separate storylines, their own quests and their own conclusions.
Nice.
All right.
Definitely looking forward to that. By the way, talking about he who shall not be named, a Mascot, she who shall not be named. When I was making the lore video, I tried my hardest to find a Mascot named once in Old School RuneScape's dialogue. Like I looked all over. She was always referred to as the Devourer. And I was wondering, like when the Beneath Cursed Sands came out, was that the first time that she was mentioned by name?
So I think there's a couple of mentions, I think, but not many. The thing about the name is that 2 of the like inhabitants of a desert, it's kind of like Anakin Skywalker versus Darth Vader. Like technically they're the same person, but in the eyes of a lot of people, what is it like? Obi-Wan says, "Oh yeah, a certain point of view, Anakin died when Darth Vader came into existence." A lot of people sort of have that interpretation that the Mascot of old, like, and the Devourer, like they're almost not the same person. The Devourer is like corrupted what a Mascot once was. So that's why they mainly refer to her as the Devourer. And the only mentions of her name I think you'll find generally are from some of the much older characters who were maybe around back when the Mascot was still a Mascot. I think there are a couple in game. We've added a few more with Beneath Cursed Sands. Like her name's used a bit more now.
Okay.
Resney and
All
the
right.
Sphinx, I think, knew her before.
Yeah, the Sphinx. I remember. Yeah, I looked at her dialogue too. She did mention or said that she's still referred to as the Devourer, but that's when she was just like, the character said something like, well, no wonder she was messed up. She was named something like that. And she was like, oh, she had a different name before, but that person has died or whatever.
That's it, yeah. I remember we did discuss this at some point because there's mention of a curse that meant that no one would ever remember her name. And at one point that wasn't true. Quite a few people remembered her name.
Yeah. And
So
that was another thing too.
That
was another question too that I was gonna ask. After you talked to Neat, after Icthren's little helper, you got the cat speak and talked to Neat. She says that she cannot possess a body for a prolonged period of time. So I was curious in Beneath Cursed Sands if we were going to see her, and if we did see her, if she would have a new host. Obviously we didn't see her, or maybe we did, but we don't know for sure if she is what body she is now possessed.
Interesting stuff, Ed. I think it was a bit bang out of order. You didn't put spoiler tags around the Star Wars stuff. So just maybe keep that in mind next time.
Should have opened with spoilers for Beneath Cursed Sands and for Star Wars.
All right, we've got 3 more questions before we wrap things up. So first one is, do you have any headcanon or lore as to why Shantae is allowed to control the access to the desert? Why would a gang control the only access for both trade and military operations into the north or south and not the Al-Qarid guards?
I think my headcanon is that Shantae has some connections that have allowed him
Maybe
to
the
do this.
Alcred guards are just maybe they're just really bad at their job.
Yeah, I mean, they let you through for like 10 gold.
They probably maybe
Yeah,
they
you know,
pocket that
nothing to scoff
themselves. There's no
Yeah.
actual border pass. They're just like they have set up themselves as a little in
How
operation.
many other characters mention this supposed toll, huh?
And they're level 7 combat. That's quite weak.
True. Got to kill a couple
They're
goblins
obviously
first.
lacking.
Hmm.
Right, Ed, any guesses to why Shantae controls that part?
These conversations like always in like one or two things, like just like literally nothing of note, or we've somehow accidentally designed a whole quest around it. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to remember like if he has it. Does he have any interesting like dialogue about like why he's actually doing it? I can't actually remember, to be honest. I have to like dig in and see what he says.
You
'Cause
should
he
really
also
listen to
has.
him more.
Because he also has that jail cell there, and if you get put in that jail cell, you can then get transferred to the Port Sarim jail cell. So maybe he's got some links to
Obviously an
Port
official
Sarim.
thing.
Hmm. So I'm going to say that he is there in at least some official capacity, like to be
Yeah,
doing all
I
of
think-
that stuff.
I think the obvious answer here is that he's Sliske and he's manipulating them all.
He's a
Is
Majora.
everyone just Sliske now?
I think
Yes.
it's canon at this point.
That's what Ed said earlier, right? That everyone is Sliske and everyone is a Majorat.
Okay, yeah, why not?
Yeah, I think I heard that. I
It's
can agree with
canon.
that.
I think I heard that too. Yeah, I think we all did.
Yeah.
We'll play it back later. Maybe we'll have a look into the footage.
If it
All right.
ends up on the wiki, it's canon, and then we have to change whatever we're planning.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't actually go and put it on the wiki, please.
Please don't do that.
Said by my dad.
Spine Welder just messaged me. He said he's already written it up.
There we go. It's
Very
done.
nice.
It's done.
Proud of him.
Yep.
All right. Next question we have is from Old Man Ostentatio. This may be a bit of a stretch, but is there any connection between Ralos, worshipped as the god of the sun in Varlamore, and Temekan, the Menethite Lord of Light? Ralos is thought to have originated in the giant outburst of light, and both are worshipped in the more arid regions of Gielinor.
That's really
No,
interesting. That's
I'm
a
not.
cool
Yeah,
theory.
I'm not going to actually do the who knows. I think that's maybe a bit unfair. Like, so I guess it's a similar answer to I guess when earlier we were talking about like storylines linking up and stuff like that. But obviously we've not seen too much what's going on in Varlamore yet. That's somewhere that hopefully we'll get to explore. Hopefully soon. And the stories there, they are their own stories that are being told, and they don't have too many ties to stuff elsewhere in the game. So don't expect like suddenly the desert storyline to head over to Valamor, or maybe Valamor stuff like linking to the desert storyline. It'd be where there's links, it's more gonna be like that Zerosian stuff again, like maybe the odd character hops over. There's some odd like shared history stuff like that, because there is very much shared history when it comes to at least Karen and the desert. Those two soul altars for a start. The fake soul altar is in Karen, but the real one is under Menethos. And like obviously a Mascot's links to souls, the Arceus links to souls. There is links there. So there's probably potentially like, a few links in Valamor as well, but there's not going to be like huge amounts of connections and crossover.
Right, interesting. Okay, all right. We've got one final question from Euridi, and they ask how many sand pixels were added to the game. I really need to know. A lot. We're still counting them. It's Mod's Brow's job specifically to count those sand pixels. So when he's done counting those, we'll get back to you. Euridi, all right. So maybe in a future lore live stream, we'll let you know. All right.
Well, actually, what Mod Brow said was that when you say pixel, you're implying a texture, and we don't really use textures very much in old school, so surely that makes the answer 0.
Dang, I thought it'd be at least 12.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I didn't like that, and I think we should send Mod Brow to count each and every individual pixel we put in the sand. So
There's
The only way
there's
to
some
make sure.
pixel conspiracy going on here. How many pixels are there? How many of them are Sliske? Who knows?
And with that
Sans is the
bombshell,
mother
we're going to wrap up stream here, guys. Thank you very much to A Cold One and Poison Potion for being on this special lore live stream. I hope you guys have had a good time.
Thanks for having me on again. It's always nice.
Yeah, I was happy to be here first time. Good time.
Good stuff. And thank you to Mods, Ed, and Errol for being on. Again, I hope you both had a good time. I always enjoy these lore streams.
Need to find an excuse to do another one soon. That's the last quest that we announced for this year has now been launched. But for anyone worried, there's definitely not going to be the last quest this year. So hopefully there'll be an excuse to do one soon. But I guess in the usual fashion of like mystery, we don't know what it's going to be about yet. Well, I say we don't. We do. Players don't. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, hopefully it's not too far away.
Players
I
might
feel
have some idea.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe
definitely
we've dropped a few hints here and there.
maybe just a couple of ones. You know, it's just nothing too obvious. But
I'm sure if you were to walk out into the desert, get a spade out, and start digging, before long you would probably find some hints as to what we're planning next.
yeah, start counting those sand pixels, and who knows. All right, let's go through some announcements just to wrap up. Exclamation game update Beneath Cursed Hands has been looked forward to a long time, and it's finally here. You can find out all the details with that command. Exclamation mark Giants Foundry. We're giving you a whole new skilling activity for smithing with Giants Foundry. Our latest blog has all the information you need on the minigame concept, the rewards, and a new quest, Sleeping's Giant. There is a version 2 of this coming. It's being worked on, so you will get an update on that soon. And if you want some more Giant Foundry stuff, exclamation mark Monday stream will link you to Mod Oasis and Mod Light speaking about the new content. So head over to there. And if you missed it at the start of the stream, exclamation mark RuneScape Kingdoms will give you the lowdown on everything to do with RuneScape Kingdoms, the Shadow of Elbarg board game that is going into Kickstarter on 31st of May. And finally, one of our amazing special guests here has done a great recap video for the desert storyline leading up to Beneath Cursed Sands. To go and check out the hard work Poison Potion has put into that with exclamation mark desert story recap. I think that's what it was. I can't find it in the script, but that's what it is. There we go. Yeah, I've just had to prove it all. Great. All right. With that said, thank you very much. If you haven't played the quest, go and do it. If you haven't watched Poison Potion's video, go and do that as well. Make sure to check out A Cold One and Poison Potion at their Twitter handles beneath their name. I've been Modsani, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Toodles.